What's up? I'm going to start another live at 3. But if you guys have some questions or anything. If you guys have any questions you want to ask. No questions? Oh, Strickland, Hermanson, okay. Man. I think I might go with Hermanson, actually. I think Hermanson will submit Strickland. That's not tonight though, right? That's next week? I believe that's next week. Hello, Laura. I'm about to do a live here in a moment. Let's see here. Strickland was wild, but I think Hermanson's ground game is pretty high level compared to most people. So I think that's where he's got a distinct advantage. I don't think Strickland's as good as Hermanson on the ground. He's a good brawler, sure. But I think Hermanson will expose Strickland on the ground. That's just my guess. So I'm on my friend on here. He's promoting his second show, which is called Martial Combat League in Oklahoma City. He did one show and also owns a gym, so it's kind of an upstart promotion. So once I get him on here, I can start. Are you in Morocco too there, King Adam? Red Skull, how's it going? Old school. King of the old school. Favorite MMA organization in the U.S.? Currently or ever? Well, in the U.S. Well, I guess I'd have to say the UFC is probably the best one. As far as the one I watch the most. But a lot of my favorite promotions are actually in Japan. Back in the day. Overall, overall Pride was my favorite. See? Pride. That was my favorite. But Shuto was another one I liked a lot. Oh, Dylan, there he is. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right. So, no, you don't want it sideways. You got to have it up and down.
Okay, cool. All right.
It does up and down.
Yeah.
All right. So for anybody watching this, I got Dylan Smith here. I used to train with Dylan sometimes at Triton, and he has a gym now, Shawmat. Shawmat, is that pronounce it right? In Enid, Oklahoma. And now you got into promoting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so maybe let's start there, because promoting, I mean, I know a lot of promoters. What made you, well, let's let you introduce yourself before you do that. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
So just like you said, my name's Dylan Smith. I'm from Enid, um, black belt under Pete Wilhelm and Triton Fight Center. So we're an affiliate school of Triton, and I think it was November of 2018 I started my jiu-jitsu program over there, and then um, just kind of I've built on it. We've built a good, strong program there in Enid. And then, I've always wanted to get on the promoting side of things. I was on the fighter side for, a long time. So I've always been interested in the business side of things and promoting. And so it's really been a long time coming for me. I've spent lots of, sleepless nights thinking about it, all that cliche stuff that people say, but it's, it's just something that I've always wanted to do. And so last year, probably January-ish time, January 2021, February, I just decided, I'm just going to go for it. And started planning things out in my head. And I've got to give a shout out to Dorothy Foss. She, over in Tulsa, her probably well. She has been a huge help in really helping me get everything aligned. So without her, I probably, I wouldn't be able to do any of it, or wouldn't have been able to get started. So she's been a huge help as far as getting things started and getting the company up and running and off the ground and getting that first show under our belt. And so we did a show July 31st of 2021. Then we turned around and did a quick one 3 months later, same spot in Enid, November 6th, I believe it was. So, and then here we are, 2022. I made some goals for myself. I wanted to take the show on the road, and I really think that Oklahoma City there's a market for a good, well-run professional organization in the Oklahoma City area, and there's a lot of great fighters over there that really deserve the platform that I think I can give. So I thought Shawnee would be a great location to test out that Oklahoma City market. So, and things have gone really well leading up to this show. We've got a heck of a fight card and all that, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But that's just kind of my backstory and I guess where Martial Combat League kind of came about.
When you did the first show, did you have to finance it yourself, or did you have to get someone to help you?
No, I'm not really big. I'm not really interested on partnering. Saying I've had people want to partner with my jiu-jitsu stuff. People want to partner with this, the Martial Combat League, and that usually just doesn't end up working out well. So, luckily I've been fortunate enough where my jiu-jitsu school has gone well. I still work an 8 to 5. I work in insurance. So, I've just kind of pinched my pennies and spent wisely and been able to pay for it myself. But it's not cheap. That's one thing that you realize is there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that as a fighter and just as a fan being at a show, you would have no idea. So that's been eye-opening for me. But like I said, it takes money to make money nowadays, and it's no different in the fight world for sure.
Now, Martial Combat League, I know I was looking at is it MMA and combat jiu-jitsu, or?
Yeah, so I wanted to, so I've got a jiu-jitsu background. I mean, I started out I was a stand-up fighter. I didn't start really training jiu-jitsu until I joined Triton in 2013 or 14, whenever it was. But now I'm a jiu-jitsu guy. So my idea is I want to give all platforms, all martial arts. That's where I came up with the Martial Combat League name, if you will. I don't want it to be just MMA or just MMA and kickboxing. Jiu-jitsu, in my opinion, is the fastest growing sport right now. you know, from 4 years old all the way to 50. Everybody's wanting to get in and do jujitsu. So I wanted to put that. I wanted to have that as part of my my business plan, I guess, if you will. So I've added. We have youth jujitsu matches. I mean, we've had kids as young as 6 doing matches. I had to have a meeting with the Oklahoma State Athletic Commission and kind of talk to them and convince them to sanction the combat jujitsu part. It's and I think there's still some kinks to be worked out there as far as like matching up. They don't allow me to match pro fighters with somebody who hasn't fought professionally before. You know, if you're a pro fighter or if you're a pro boxer, but you're just getting into jiu-jitsu, but you want to kind of transition to MMA and you want to do a combat jiu-jitsu match, I have to match them with another professional fighter, you know, but maybe this boxer is a white belt and hardly has any experience, you know, and not many professional fighters out there are white belts in jiu-jitsu. So I do think that there's some kinks that need to be worked out as far as like the combat jiu-jitsu side. But that, you know, our event was the first event that they've ever sanctioned as a state athletic commission. So I think that was a big step. But I'm kind of getting off in the weeds here. But we've got youth jiu-jitsu matches, we do combat jiu-jitsu matches, we do kickboxing, and we do MMA. And I'm open to boxing too. You know, I'm not opposed to that. I've got a lot of connections in the jiu-jitsu world and the MMA world. Boxing, though, I don't know many boxing gyms out there. I don't have many connections. I wanted to add a boxing fight on this Shawnee card, and I tried to match the guy, but I just don't know many people in boxing anymore. You know, nothing against boxing. I know they're out there, but it's just I didn't have any luck matching this guy. So, but that's what I wanted to bring up. I want to give a platform for all martial artists out there, whether it be kids, people that, you know, do jujitsu but want to transition to MMA. And so I think this combat jujitsu is a perfect platform for that. And honestly, the combat jiu-jitsu matches have been some of the most exciting matches on these cards. It's you know, seeing somebody, you know, laying in guard and then just rearing back and slapping the piss out of somebody is, you know, it's exciting. When you hear that slap, you know, around the arena, you hear all the ooh and all that stuff. It's fun, you know, and it's fun. And we've on this next card, we've got some really scrappy girls on it. Jordan Patrick is she's on there. She's high level black belt. You know, she's working hard for this. And then Maria is on here. Ebony Ivory is another one. She's super scrappy girl out of Oklahoma City. And then Jordan Patrick is going against Maddie Fernandez, she's a brown belt out of Midland BJJ. So she's a 4-stripe brown belt out of Midland. So she should, that'll be a super interesting matchup as far as stylistically, you know, how it goes. I'm interested in that. But, you know, I just think for one, from like a business standpoint, you know, people like Jordan, you know, she probably wouldn't have come to the fights had she not been on the card, and then her friends wouldn't have come had she not been on the card. So, you know, from a business standpoint, it makes sense to put these jiu-jitsu people on there because, you know, like I said, jiu-jitsu is as popular as ever now, and these guys can sell tickets, and these guys want to put on a show, and they want a chance to perform underneath the lights. So, I think it's a great platform, and I think you'll see people start picking up on like the combat jiu-jitsu stuff, the youth jiu-jitsu. You know, you get cousins and uncles and grandmas and grandpas that would never show up to the fights if little Johnny wasn't on the card. So, you know, I think it's just a great way to bring, you know, more eyes to just combat sports world, you know, and combat sports is definitely taking over. And you know, so that's just always that's the route I've chose. I didn't want to just stick to just MMA or just kickboxing, if that makes sense.
How many matches do you have on the card?
Man, we've got several. We're sitting right around 23, 24, 25, including like that's with the youth jiu-jitsu all the way down to the main event fight. So quite a bit, but that's how that's how it's been on my previous two cards. We have 20 plus ballots on the card, and it's it always goes well as long as you just kind of get them going one after another, and you don't take 5-10 minutes between these fights. It works out.
Like the venue, how long do you have to book it for to have that many fights or that many matches?
So technically, I mean, from like just from like a business and the athletic commission standpoint, I just can't go past midnight, But I mean, I book we've got the Fire Lake Arena, the 11th, 12th, and 13th. So I booked it for 3 days. But
okay.
Yeah, we just can't go past that midnight time frame, or my GL my liability policy. I have to have a 2-day one instead of the 1 day. So that kind of gets tricky there. But I mean, we're usually done by 10:30 every night that we have an event. But it's we just keep them streamlined. And Gerald Harris, he's our MC, and I mean, if you know Gerald, he's a natural on the mic. He keeps everybody laughing, keeps everybody entertained between the fights. And if we have any technical issues, a normal ring card announcer, they'd just be standing around. Gerald's telling jokes, Gerald's entertaining the crowd. So that's been a big plus for us to have him on the roster. And it's a former UFC fighter. He understands like show business, and he understands the fighting world. So he's worked out great as well for us.
Now, when a person buys a ticket, they can go to all 3 days.
Now say that one more time.
You said you have 3 days, right?
Well, so I just booked. When you asked, how long do you book the venue? But I mean, the 11th, the day before, is just for setup. Day of, hopefully put out any fires, whatever, and then the next day we'll tear down. So that's all I meant by that. Yeah, but no, we're not doing, not yet anyways, a 3-day event, but who knows, maybe someday.
What time do you start it at to get those in? It's kind of what I was wondering.
The youth jiu-jitsu matches always kick off at 6:30. That's a pretty good time. We did a Friday show on our November 6th show, and it didn't work out. We didn't have as many people in the crowd, but we were also battling, Friday night high school football. That's huge here in Oklahoma. So I'll probably stick to Saturday shows as much as possible, unless I can come in and get a UFC Fight Pass contract or something, and they make me go on Fridays only. But other than that, I plan to just stick to Friday nights. But we kick off 6:30, and then the actual fights, combat jiu-jitsu, it'll kick off 7:15, 7:25, somewhere right around in there. So, and that's worked out.
When are they normally ending, you think? Because I'm trying to think, 25 matches, when does it normally end, like something like that?
Yeah, so we normally get finished between, I don't know, right around 10:30, 10:45, 11. It's a full night. But if I'm going to some fights, I don't want to just watch 9 fights. I want to be there. We make an event out of it, to say the least. And so that's kind of that's my thought. And like I said, as long as you're not taking 15 minutes between fights, it goes off well. It runs pretty smoothly, and there's always hiccups, but that's show business.
Now, are a lot of people approaching you to be in it, or are you having to kind of convince people?
Yeah, so the first show, obviously, I had to reach out to everybody, and that was tougher. Second show was a little easier, but second show we had more people pulling out and stuff, and that's another thing we can get into. And then, but this third show, now that I've got 2 solid shows under my belt, this third show has been the easiest as far as matchmaking goes. So luckily, people see the product that we put out, and they want to come fight for us. So, and I still get messages daily like, hey, how can I get on the card in February, blah blah blah. So I have to I'm turning guys down now at this point, because we're packed full, and it's but that's a good problem to have, so. Yeah,
I noticed you had a lot of people who I recognize their names and stuff,
Yeah,
so.
yeah, it's so like I said, I think people have just recognized the quality of show that we put on and the top tier production that we have. And like I said, it just got it takes money to make money, so we're putting money into it, as far as like having all the eye candy lights. We bring it in a great DJ. He's super entertaining, so all that stuff goes into that people don't see. That makes everything so much more fun for people, I guess, if you will. So that's why I think that's why I have people continually reaching out, wanting to come fight for us. So it's a good problem to have. I think there's always going to be problems matching fighters. I'll have people pull out between now and fight night for this card. It just is what it is. You get people who think that they're ready to fight, and then come fight night, they start getting cold feet, and it's like, oh my gosh. The excuses that I've heard are crazy, and I get it. It's scary fighting. There's never a fight that I went into that I wasn't scared, so, and I think it's that some people let that competition anxiety get the best of them, and it just is what it is. It'll always be part of combat sports, but, hopefully we're kind of weeding those guys out and those gyms out, and, they can take their fighters elsewhere and go fight for somebody else. Cause I have a list running of who I will and won't have on another show for sure.
Now, as a promoter, when you book a place like Fire Lake, one of these casinos, are you like you were talking about the eye candy and all that stuff, you're providing all of that, or what do they provide besides the venue?
Just the venue. They, I have to go out and I go source all that stuff. So, there's a lot, there's so much that goes into it, but, every show's gotten easier and easier and easier. But yeah, I go source all that stuff as far as like, the production team. I mean, like the camera guys are different from the lights guys, lights and sound. And, you got your DJ, you've got your ring card announcer, you got the guys commentating for the live stream, things like that. I've had to get a website built. I work with a company out of California that helps me, with the live stream stuff. So, there's a lot of irons in the fire, but it just is, that's what it takes to have a production of what we have for sure.
Yeah, because I always thought like the casinos, they have an entertainment venue.
Yeah.
But you have to provide all that. It doesn't come with the lighting.
Yeah, and most venues, I mean, they're familiar with like the show business, so they'll give you recommendations. Like Fire Lake, I had to work with a certain company. They, because they're liability, whatever insurance stuff they have in place, I have to use their people. So that kind of helped with this Shawnee card. But they're, these venues are always, especially the one in Enid, they've been great. Every venue, they want you to be successful. Obviously, they're making money at the same time that we have, 1,500 people in the building. They're obviously making money. So they want to make it as easy as possible on the promoter, on the fight promotion that's in there. So they're always a good help for sure.
Now talk about some of the matches that you're looking forward to, or that fans would look forward to.
Honestly, I really don't think that we could have built a better fight card than what we have, given the situations. And Dale Cook has a card the week before mine. You got Rage in the Cage. They've got like a beginning of March card. Dorothy Foss is putting on, I don't know if I could say that, but she's planning another show soon. So, given the situation, there's only so many fighters, but given the situation, I think that we have built the best fight card that you can. So, it's been pretty awesome. We have a lot of, there's so many exciting amateur fighters here in Oklahoma that, that are up and coming and have aspirations to be in the UFC. We've got, so American Elite, they've got TJ Smith, Jimmy Miller is another one. Olin Learned, he's a kickboxer. Jordan Brown is another kid. He's, I always watch his Instagram stories, and this dude is like, he's got like a 1-year-old baby going with him everywhere. He'll be on the mats, and he'll show his little son over there sitting there playing with toys, and it's cool to watch that dude his lead up to this fight and with the sacrifices he's given. But as far as matchups go, I mean, Gabe Rednose is another one. He's a guy who he's out of Kingfisher. He's super solid jiu-jitsu fighter. He's fighting he's doing combat jiu-jitsu with a 6'8", 265-pound Mike Williams out of Dallas, Texas, and Kyle Short jiu-jitsu, as I think the gym that he's out of. That's going to be a super exciting matchup. I mean, Gabe's probably 6'1". Gabe's lost, 60 pounds, maybe not 60, yeah, probably around 60 pounds over the last 6-8 months, and he's really coming in motivated, but he's got a tall order ahead of him if he's going to beat this guy. He's a number 2 heavyweight. Mike Williams is out of Texas, so that'll be interesting. Let's see. TJ Smith is another one. He's a prospect. He's from Phoenix, I believe, moved to Woodward, Oklahoma, and then he fought for us back in July. He had a good debut fight, and then so he's on this card again. But I believe he's like so he used to train out at the lab out in Phoenix, I believe, is where it was. But he's one of those next generation mixed martial artists that have been training, mixed martial arts their entire life. He doesn't just have a wrestling background, doesn't just have a boxing background. So TJ Smith's another one. He's fighting Mitchell Jagger, I think is his last name, out of Longview MMA. We've got 3 Longview MMA guys coming over. Another exciting fight is David Wright out of Lovatos. He's a blue belt, and I've tried to match this guy. If you see him, he's just a physical specimen. I mean, just has muscles on top of muscles on top of muscles. And I heard that he hadn't ever wrestled in his life, and then he just walked on to UCO and wrestled for them. And but like I said, he's a blue belt under Lovato. He's done some IBJJF stuff, and he's come. Gino Morelli is a Penn State wrestler. He came in second, and I forget which IBJJF it was. He came in second to Gino Morelli, and Gino Morelli is, he wrestled at Penn State, may have been a national champion, All-American for sure. But, if you're coming in second place to a guy like that, it says a lot about you. So he's fighting, I drew a blank, but he's fighting a guy out of Longview MMA as well. The guy's 4-4, has a little bit of experience. This is David Wright's debut fight, but that's going to be super interesting. Like I said, if you get a chance, you'll have to look up David. And I had to make him make his Instagram and stuff private because people were looking him up and just, I'd approach people and they'd be like, oh yeah, what's the guy's name? And they'd look him up and they'd be like, no, I'm okay. And I don't blame them. I mean, you look at the guy and he is just jacked. So that's another one that's I'm super excited to have on the card. He's going to be, Kobe Bradford. Thanks, Dave. Dave's my poster guy. He's out of Canada. He's the best in the biz. He's helped me look professional as far as like from a promotion standpoint. I'm putting out all these fighter posters, and
I thought they looked real nice.
And that's all Dave. Dave Fritz is down there. He's down in the comments. He's helping me out there. So Dave, shout out to you, my man. I appreciate you for sure. But that's a super exciting matchup there. I was kind of starstruck. I was working one day, just my insurance job. I get a text from a 405 number I don't know, and it's Rafael Lovato Jr. Hey, Dylan. Hope everything's all right. I've heard great stuff about your promotion, blah, 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 all this stuff. And it's like, that was like a surreal moment for me when, a guy of his stature reaches out to me and has that to say that, that was a pretty proud moment. I don't like to be starstruck, but in the jiu-jitsu world, if you know anything about martial arts, I mean, that guy, he's a legend, so when he reached out to me, that was super cool. And we had another one of his guys on November show, Colton Phoenix was another one who Colton's been doing jiu-jitsu under junior for a long time, and Colton ended up winning. He had a dog fight, but Lovato's got a great program, obviously, and he's got some great fighters coming up underneath him. So, like I said, I was starstruck there, but I don't mean to keep getting off in the woods. So David Wright and Kobe Bradford, that should be a really good fight. I'm trying to go over some of these amateur fights. Jordan Brown is fighting Hunter Boone. Hunter Boone is out of Altus, 10th Planet guy. So I'm assuming he's probably a jiu-jitsu guy. Jordan Brown is out of American Elite. I've never seen him at any jiu-jitsu tournaments. I'm guessing he's probably a stand-up guy. He probably knows jiu-jitsu just like anybody in the MMA world. But that's another exciting matchup there. Let's see, who else do we have?
Jordan Patrick.
Yeah, Jordan Patrick, obviously. Like I said, she's going to be as exciting as ever to watch her fight and to watch her, go out and slap somebody. She's a monster for sure. Her opponent has a tall order in front of her, but I don't know anything about Maddie. Maddie, her opponent could, she could come out and surprise us all, but I just know Jordan. So, who knows? We'll see how that goes. Another combat jiu-jitsu match that we have is Maria Carlucci, I believe is how you say her last name, against Ebony Ivory. Ebony has MMA experience. Maria trains with Jordan every single day. She trains with those brothers guys. She trains at Triton. She trains at Omar's. She's going to come in, and that's going to be a scrap. I have a feeling that will be that'll be a really good fight for sure. We've also got Samson Tabby Tight. He's another one. I was fortunate enough to train with him over at Forza Combat Sports with Leo the other day. I did some sparring with him, and man, he's so crisp, man. He's ready to be a pro. This will be his last amateur fight. He's fighting, I think you say it Roderick Walker, I believe is the guy's name. He's another one out of Longview MMA. So that'll be an interesting fight. I'm excited to see Samson. Samson's he did a jiu-jitsu match for us on the November card, and it turned out, in his favor. He's just a scrappy dude, man. So he's another one. Another guy I'm really excited about is Michael Dugan. He's a prospect for sure. He's fighting 135 on this card. He could probably be 135, 125. I don't think he really cares. He just wants to fight. He had a 26, maybe not even 26 seconds in his debut that he had with us. And man, I'll watch his training videos and stuff. I've never had the privilege to train with him, but his striking looks crisp. He had a good, he's a purple belt on the ground, again, there. He's with Elite Combat Systems in Stillwater, and they're an affiliate of Lovato. So, he's got his purple belt under Lovato. So that's, he's obviously going to be good. But this will be his second amateur MMA fight. I don't see him having many more than 3 amateur fights before he's ready to go pro. He's one to definitely keep your eye on. I don't think he'll be on a regional scene for very long. He'll be getting the call a couple fights in from as far as like his pro journey or whatever you will from Bellator UFC for sure. That kid has potential. Let's see.
Weaver.
Say it again.
Justin Weaver.
Oh yeah, Justin Weaver. So moving on like to the pros, we've got a few pro fights on the card. Justin Weaver came out. He fought for us back in November, and he had a good debut. He fought an All-American wrestler. The All-American wrestler came in, missed weight, and Justin, he was upset about that, rightfully so. As a professional, you don't want people making weight, and Justin was already bumping up in weight. Justin's a natural, probably 35er. He was fighting at 45, and his opponent came in at like 148 or something. So, but Justin, he had really a highlight reel body kick TKO on this last show. So he's fighting this show. He's going to fight Jose I don't know how you say, Jose Luera out of clinch. And Jose, I believe right now is down in Chicago training, getting ready for this fight. So that ought to be a scrap. Jose, I've rolled with Jose as far as jiu-jitsu, and he's scrappy on the feet or on the ground, but Justin's scrappy on the feet. So that's that traditional, stand up versus ground fighter guy. So that'll be interesting. We'll see if Jose can get it to the ground. I'm not taking anything away from Jose's stand up, but if I had to guess, I would guess that that's not Jose's plan to stand up with Justin, but I could be wrong. So that's another one that should be scrappy. Justin, he always wants to claim he's going for that knockout of the night. He got knocked out of the night last fight. He says he's going to get it again this time. So that'll be an interesting one to watch. We've also got Jared McLaughlin. I don't know for sure. Sorry, Jared, if you see this, but he's out of clinch as well. He's fighting Chip Cole's out of Midland. He's a black belt. He's 2-0 as a professional. That one ought to be a scrap. We're doing it for our 170-pound title, so that'll be interesting. I'm excited to see how that one turns out. It will. We'll say, I don't know. I mean, Jared is, he's as scrappy as ever. That on the feet, on the ground, he'll roll with the best of the best black belts. So that one will be interesting. I think Chip Cole will probably try to take it to the ground, but I don't think I don't think Jared's worried about that. But we'll see. I don't know how Chip Cole's stand up is, but he's 2-0. He's a professional. Or 2-0. He's never been beat. So we'll see how that one turns out. And then the main event will be Braden Smith versus Chauncey Foxworth out of Arkansas. And Braden's obviously from the Oklahoma City area. He lives down in Florida. He's training with like Rashad Evans. I think it's American Combat Gym, something like that. But a bunch of UFC guys down there he's training with. So that, I'm sure that Braden's going to come in ready. And the interesting thing about this fight is Chauncey beat Braden, I believe it was back in 2017. So, I'm sure Braden will be looking to get that one back. And Chauncey would, he's got the key to success, or at least he did back in 2017 to beat Braden. So that one will be an interesting matchup for sure. I'm sure I'm missing a few. So we've got a few guys from Todd, Ryan, BJJ. They're Josh Bollinger. He's fighting Jimmy Miller. Jimmy Miller is out of Ponca City, but he trains at Small Town Scrappers, who is an American Elite affiliate school, if you will. So Jimmy called Josh out. So Josh had a combat jiu-jitsu match on our last November card, and Jimmy won his fight on the last November card it was very first round. It didn't take long at all. And Jimmy came to me after the fight and was like, hey, I want to test my ground game, and I want to fight the Josh Bollinger. So I approached Josh, and he was like, well, sure, yeah. So that one that's another, grappler versus striker. Jimmy's come over to Enid and done some training with us there in Enid. But, Josh looked as solid as ever as far as his ground game in his combat jiu-jitsu match for us November 4th. So that one will be interesting. I think Jimmy's going to have to keep it on the feet if he wants to win that one. And we'll see how Josh's stand-up can hold up against Jimmy. I've never seen Josh hit mitts or do any sort of stand-up, so I can't speak on that. But Jimmy's solid as far as on the feet, and he's got a solid jiu-jitsu base. He's no high-level jiu-jitsu guy, and I think he'd probably admit that too. But so that one will be an interesting one. Colt Billingsley is another one out of Ryan BJJ. I believe Colt is a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. But so he's fighting Michael Dugan out of Stillwater that I was telling you about. That one will be interesting. I think Colt's going to have to take it to the mat if he wants to. I really don't think any amateur wants to stand and bang with Michael Dugan right now. Like I said, I've seen this dude's training, and his hands are crisp. He looked crisp in his first fight with us. I think Colt Billingsley will want to come in and take to the mat. I could be wrong though. That's just my prediction. But and we've got a few others. I'm trying to get Kara Greenwell matched. I had her matched up with Helen Lucero out of Kansas City, but Helen had to pull out for a legitimate reason. I won't share it on here, but that was a wild reason. I mean, I had never had somebody pull out for that, but it was it's interesting. You hear some wild stories when people have to pull out of fights, but she's another one that I would love to get her matched, but the clock's ticking, and Kara's no slouch. She was 10-5. She wants to make her pro debut. That's what she was supposed to make her pro debut. She's ready, and so it's going to be tough to find her a matchup in 2 weeks time when she was 10-5 as an amateur. She's got a lot of experience, so somebody that I'm obviously going to have to match her with a newer pro. And most of these females, when they turn pro, they've got like 2, 3, 4 fights, and a lot of girls have told me no, they don't want to fight her, and I get that, but females are tough to match, man. They're tough, and I found out, any legit girls out there, they're either signed with Invicta or they're signed with LFA. So it's tough to find opponents for females around here. That's one thing that I've struggled with is being able to find female professional fighters. So, and we were supposed to have Christina Williams on the card. She was fighting. Gosh, I'm going to draw a blank now.
You need words up on your wall like Dana White has.
Yeah, I should have written some notes down here. But she was fighting a girl out of Glory MMA. James Krause's is gym over there, but that fight had to scrap. I think both those girls have some news that they'll probably announce here in the next couple weeks or whatever. So. Man,
how hard is it to scout all these people? I mean, who works with you as far as that goes? Because I know you can't watch everybody, obviously.
Yeah, really, people have just come to me. Luckily now, people are coming to me and saying, "Hey, this is my list of fighters. This is who I have." I struggle with like delegating stuff out. I'd love to have like a fighter relations person that handles all my matchmaking and that stuff, but I struggle with thinking that somebody's going to put as much heart and as much effort into matching these fights as what I'm going to. That's one thing that I struggle with, is delegating things out, because I want to put on the best of the best show, and whenever I do something, I go all in. I go 110%. I put everything out there, but at the same time, so I work 8 to 5. I'm selling insurance during the day. I teach jiu-jitsu from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock at night. Then I'm putting these MMA shows on, I'm promoting these shows on top of that. And a person can only have that type of schedule for so long, So we'll see. I'll figure it out. It'll all work itself out. I need to get better at just trusting other people and letting them, just say, "Look, I'm going to hire you, and you do all the matchmaking," because it's really tough, getting all the sponsors and getting everything in line for the show, and getting all these fighters around, and matching people and keeping people on the card and keeping fighters happy and things like that. So, I'll have to find I wouldn't call it a partner, but I'll just have to find a fighter relations type of person that I can put enough trust into to that I know that they're going to match these fighters exactly, or like I would, and put on a match a good show. But I struggle delegating that out to other people, because that was the reason why I kind of got into it. I mean, in my opinion, I think I can figure out a good matchup. So that part is hard for me, to go out and just give that up. But I don't know. Like I said, I'll figure it out. As far as finding somebody that can be like my right hand man or whatever, I'll figure it out eventually. I'm gonna have to, because I can't do this schedule that I have, especially if I'm not in my hometown putting on a show. If I'm gonna take the show on the road, and we've got another show May 14th in El Reno that we'll do, I'll have to get some help for sure.
Now, why did you decide to branch out to these other places? What was
Well,
your thought process behind it?
I
Because
mean,
I know you take it on a lot. Like
yeah,
me, for example, I have a job and just like talking to people on this stuff.
yeah,
I have more people reaching out to me now, and
yeah,
I'm
I
like,
know.
man, I got to
Yeah,
work and do this,
yeah, yeah.
and that's nothing compared to what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. I just, like I said, I think there's an opportunity in Oklahoma City for somebody to put on high quality, top tier production shows. Um, and I'm not downgrading anybody in the Oklahoma City area, so I wouldn't do that. But I just think that there's an opportunity for bigger shows like what I'm putting on in the Oklahoma City area. So that's um, that's 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 really why I decided to branch out of Enid and take the show on the road and do that.
No,
And
but I mean, you got the Fire Lake. Why did you decide to go to El Reno?
Well, so in my eyes, I mean, so you've got the Fire Lake, which is on the east side of Oklahoma City. El Reno is on the west side, and then I'm over in Enid. That little triangle right there, I think, is
Okay.
perfect. If I can figure out 2 shows per year at each location, would be a great rotation for me. And doing new shows, like doing this first show at Shawnee, man, I've lost so much sleep over it. Ticket sales are going well. Sponsorships have come on strong. We're everything's going well, but just that fear of failure is always in somebody's head, and it can be crippling. But you just have to take those sleepless nights as they come, and not get too overwhelmed with things. And it's like it is what it is. I just there's nothing. I just have to put my best foot forward between now and February 12th and hope it all works out. But sometimes it's easier said than done. Just it's a scary thing, branching out and doing something brand new like this, and especially in Shawnee's 100 some miles away from where I'm at. So coordinating a show 100 miles away, it has been a difficult task. But here we are. We've got a great lineup. We've got great sponsors for the show. Everything's all set, and it's worked out just like life always does. But sometimes we struggle worrying about stuff like that, worrying about failure. It's just the fear of failure. That's all it is. The fear of failure is crippling, and that's a lot of reason why people don't go chase their dreams, is because they don't, they're just scared. They're scared of failure, and this is what it is. I don't want to look back when I'm 65 and think, damn, I should have put on some shows outside of Enid, or damn, I should have, done more with the MMA promotion world. So I'm just going for it. And,
But I
you know,
mean, the gym didn't take up enough of your time.
it does. That's honestly, like, if I didn't have the gym and my jiu-jitsu people around, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would be a miserable wreck. I can go in there and I go teach jiu-jitsu, and that to me is a release. I don't, nothing's on my mind but jiu-jitsu and teaching whether it be the youth class, the adult class. That's my escape. That to me isn't work. I'm just going in there and sharing my passion with these guys who are just as passionate about jiu-jitsu as I am. So I've got an awesome group of students. We've got the best white and blue belts in the state. I'm only 3 years into owning my own gym, or being running a jiu-jitsu program. So we don't have any higher level guys, but eventually we will. And I always tell my guys, like, we have the best white belts for a reason. They're so committed. We have the best white and blue belts now. And it's eventually we'll have the best purple belts and the best brown belts and the best black belts. And it just that to me isn't really a stressor. That's a stress reliever for me, because I'm just going in there sharing my passion. That's easy. That's easy. It does take time, but that's easy for me.
But opening a gym, that's a stressor, is it not? I mean, you have
Yeah,
a bit.
yeah. The front, from a business, the business side of things, without a doubt, that's definitely um, stressful for sure. But luckily I have. So I've got Nadine and Clay Kalla is their name. So they're a family who does my program. They help me out tremendously. My kid, I live in Enid. My kids are over in Tulsa. And, my number one goal is to be the best dad I can be. So if there's ever times where I need to miss the gym, have something going on outside of jujitsu or outside of work, whatever it is, they're there for me. They open the shop, they open the gym, they close up, they clean the mats, all that stuff. So I wouldn't be able to do anything outside of the gym without the Callas. And like I said, they're a great family. They're great. They've been super helpful in all this stuff. And they're coming down to the Fire Lake show, and they're going to help me set up the cage and all that stuff. So they're great people. You gotta find people like them for sure. If you want to work 3 jobs, you gotta find somebody like them to be your backup for sure, because they're super helpful. So without them, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it. But the business side of things, yes, is tough from the gym. It's collecting payments and stuff. It's like I don't even want to have to worry about that, but I also don't want to pay somebody to worry about that. So it's my responsibility to worry about payments and late payments and all that stuff. That stuff is like, gosh, I hate dealing with it, but that's just part of business, I guess, if you will. But my guy, we got a great, how jujitsu people are. Jujitsu, if you train jujitsu, you may not come in being a good person, but you will eventually turn into a good person if you stick with jujitsu long enough. So luckily, I've got a great group of students that make things easy for me. But the gym part, it can be stressful. Tax time, that can be stressful. But other than that, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, selling insurance is hard enough. Then you have a gym. Now you're trying to do this. It's like,
yeah,
it's like you want to run yourself ragged.
it's
That's
no,
personality.
like I said at the beginning, it'll all work itself out. It's I enjoy my 8 to 5. If I had a job that I just did not like going into every day, that would be one thing. But I work for a great manager, and he does my jiu-jitsu program. He sponsors the fights and stuff, so I couldn't ask for a better 8 to 5 job. So it's that's been a key role in me being able to juggle all 3 of these things at once, for sure. So it's funny. I mean, the stars always align. Like I said, life always works out like it's supposed to. And right now I'm in a great position to be able to be doing all 3 things at once. So, I'm definitely pretty lucky, but I've worked hard to set myself up for all this stuff. But, it's definitely not just myself. Everybody around me is great. You got to surround yourself with great people, and good things come, for sure. So I'm super thankful to have my 8 to 5. That helps me pay my child support and all that good stuff. So that's super important. And then, my 5 to 9 job, if you will, teaching jiu-jitsu, that's a stress reliever for me. And then these fights, that's just a little extra cherry on top. So I mean, yeah, I'm a little overwhelmed and stuff as far as like time wise goes, but right, I'm living the dream right now. I've always wanted to be like on the promotion side. So we're off to a great start, and the people that I have reaching out to me wanting to fight for me is awesome. And I have these fighters telling me, we've been watching you and you're doing a great job. I'd love to fight for you someday, blah, blah, blah. Those messages that I get are, they mean something for sure. Cause regardless how good of a situation I have, life can get stressful if you're working as much as I work, but So it's always nice getting those messages from people saying, we've seen Martial Combat League, and we love what you're doing there. We'd love to get our guys on there. I'd love to fight for you someday. Anything like that. That's always it's always a good, just nice little pat on the back, if you will, to know that people are recognizing your hard work, and that I'm doing a good job. So not that I need that. If I didn't get them, it's not like I'd feel bad for myself, but it's always a nice little extra. Like I said, pat on the back when these fighters reach out to you and say, hey, they recognize what you're doing in the MMA world. So it's cool for sure.
Now talk a little bit. Talk a little bit about your jiu-jitsu background. So I want people to know about that, because we just talked about promoting and stuff, but just a little bit about that.
Yeah. So I started training 2009, and when I say training, I mean training for MMA. Really, it was me and a handful of guys in Enid, and none of us knew what we were doing as far as like jiu-jitsu goes. We had a bunch of we had a black belt under Dale Cook. He was a stand-up guy. He gave us all our stand-up instruction, but as far as jiu-jitsu goes, it was like we were just rolling around, didn't have any idea what we were doing. So I trained for jiu-jitsu, or I trained for MMA from 2009 until I joined Triton. Which like I said, I think it was either 2013 or 2014.
Mm-hmm. And
that's when I put a gi on for the first time. That's when I went through my very first just jiu-jitsu class, not MMA class.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was actually given my blue belt from my MMA coach at the time. I won't say any names, but this guy, Pete didn't recognize my blue belt, and I'm glad that he didn't recognize my blue belt for sure. So he made me start out as a no stripe white belt.
I was there. I remember.
Yeah. So
but I think you were damn good at that time. So
yeah, for sure. I had 15 pro fights and stuff. So, I wasn't white belt for sure, but
you're good.
Jiu-jitsu knowledge then, like compared to what it is now, is like it's not even comparable, So that's when 2014 is when I started focusing strictly just on jiu-jitsu. I'd kind of given up on the MMA thing. I had 22 MMA fights at that point, and I was like, I'm good. It's I'm not gonna. I realized I wasn't gonna make it to the big league, so I was like, just whatever. I'll just continue training jiu-jitsu. You can train jiu-jitsu into your 50s, 60s, however long you want, but you can't do kickboxing, boxing. You can't train that for an extended period of time, or you're just going to be brain dead. But so that's when I just decided I'd just focus on jiu-jitsu. I joined Triton. Like I said, Pete told me, look, I'm not going to recognize your blue belt. You're going to start over as a white belt. And I thanked him for that. And I'm to this day still appreciative of that. So, just from there.
The other white belts, blue belts, and purple belts probably didn't appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It was probably an unfair advantage there. But so, I just worked my way up from there, and it was August 15th of 2020 when I trained under Pete from 2014 to the end of 2018, and then I decided that I was tired of just not doing something for myself. I was just working a 9-to-5 and kind of miserable, kind of just stuck in life's ruts, and just going through the motions, and I knew I needed to do something for myself. So that's when I decided I was moving home and I was going to start a jiu-jitsu program. Enid is a town of 50,000, and there was no jiu-jitsu there. There was so there was an untapped market, and I had from my MMA stuff, I had a good following there, and I know a lot of people there. I grew up there, so that's why I decided to move back to Enid. Had I decided to do it in Tulsa, I'd just be another small fish in a big pond, if you will. Nothing against people starting in Tulsa, but I just knew there's better opportunity in Enid for myself in my situation. So November 2018, I literally just quit my job one Friday. The next Monday, I had no job lined up. Started my first class in Enid, had no students. I did 2 free weeks of classes from like that. It was the week right before November 13th is when it was. And I did the final 2 weeks free. And then December 1st is like when I started my memberships. So, I moved over there, didn't have a single student, didn't have anything to my name, moved into my mom's house. I was 30, I think I was 30 at the time, moved into my mom's house and really just started building on the jiu-jitsu program. And so then from there, we were in like a small, it was actually like a recreational gym. They had weights and stuff in there. And we had an 800 square foot mat space area that we were off in a corner. It's kind of an awkward setup. We had grandmas and grandpas walking on the treadmill, literally right next to the mats. And so it was kind of a weird situation, but I'm thankful that they gave me my start there. Fighter Physiques is the gym that let me kind of take up that corner space in Enid, but it was awkward in there, kind of everybody watching us. Nobody in there knew what jiu-jitsu was. They didn't know what we were doing. It was brand new to everybody. And here we are just choking.
It's a new concept, though. If no one else is having that, grandmas and you could just keep doing it.
yeah, for sure. So it also helped, people would watch and then they'd want to get their kids into it if they saw it or they wanted to do it themselves. So it helped me get my start as well. So I got my, like I said, I moved back home, started on that November 13th, which was a Monday. And then December 1st started my memberships. And then, so we were there December 1st, 2018. And then we opened our new facility, the facility that we're in, which is, just as big as Triton. I'm super thankful for, and I'm lucky to be able to have the gym that I have in Enid. We found a great location, and I was able to buy the building and put my program in there, and it's set up super similar to Triton. It's 7,500 square foot. But we were able to move into that facility, and it's weird because so we trained in the beginning of 2020 is when COVID hit, and so somebody who has a jiu-jitsu program, it's like, we can't, we shut down, and it was scary, but it was weird how it worked out for me because I had so January 1st of 2020, I closed on the building that we were moving into and it had tons of renovation that needed done. And I had planned on doing it myself with the time that I didn't have. So we shut down for COVID. And so I was able to go every night to the new gym and do all the renovations, painting, getting it ready. And right when COVID lifted, I was at that Monday, we were able to go from our old, so we shut down in our old location, and then we were shut down for 6-8 weeks, whatever it was. And then that Monday is when we started in the new location. So it worked out weirdly well. I was at, like I said, we couldn't train jiu-jitsu. So I was at the new place painting, and our other jiu-jitsu guys were there. The Callas were there helping me put up walls, lay down mats, all that stuff, do the renovation process. It worked, like I said, it worked out weirdly well. COVID was a blessing in disguise for me. I can't, say anything other than that. I wouldn't, it would have been a long time before I would have been able to move into the new location that we have. So I was a brown belt at the time whenever I started my program. And then we had August 15th, we had our grand opening, and I had Professor Pete over and Chris Hutchison as well. You know him, I'm sure. So they came over, and August 15th of 2020 is when I got my black belt. And, that's kind of been my story. I started out MMA fighting, then just only focused on jiu-jitsu, started my own program, and 2020 got my black belt. So that's I guess a long story that I kind of drew out, but that's kind of my story on the jiu-jitsu side of things for sure.
Now, as you're winding down this interview, let's say somebody knows nothing about the details of your event coming up. How can they go? How can they go? When is it?
Yeah. So February 12th is the event date. It'll be at Fire Lake Arena in Shawnee. Super nice venue. We've got a great fight card. We've got everything from youth jiu-jitsu matches all the way up to professional MMA. You can get your tickets on Stubwire, and I've the link is on our Facebook Martial Combat League or at Martial Combat League on Instagram, so you can find tickets there. Make sure you guys are supporting local fighters. It's important to select your fighter. Whenever you purchase your tickets, I give these guys a cut of all their ticket sales. So that's a great way for amateurs to make it worth them. These guys are fighting for nothing. So make sure you're selecting your fighters whenever you get your tickets, and don't purchase your tickets unless if the link's messed up or something, which it's not. But I've had people come back and say, oh man, they couldn't, my people couldn't figure out how to get them under my name. And it's like, at that point, it's like, I got to go back. And so just make sure before you get your tickets that you're selecting your fighter and supporting these guys. But super exciting show. Like I said, February 12th, Shawnee, Oklahoma, Fire Lake Arena. It's going to be a great night. As exciting as ever. I don't want to say that this will be the best fight card of 2022, but it's going to be the best fight card of 2022. I don't know that I'll be able to outdo this fight card that we have for February. So,
it'll only get bigger, man.
Yeah, I hope so, and I hope that I can build on this. I'd like to start bringing some bigger names in for combat jiu-jitsu. Hunter Colvin, I'd love to get that guy on a card, whether it be combat jiu-jitsu, MMA fighting, whatever it is. But there's some big combat jiu-jitsu matches that are out there, and I'd love to kind of build off this platform that I've built with these multiple martial arts. Nobody's really doing it like we're doing it out there, and I think we've got a good product to offer the fans, and I really do think that it's already taken off, but I think it's just going to get even bigger.
Well, Levi, I appreciate you taking the time to do this, and
you having me on, man. It's been several years since I've seen you, but we'll have to get together sometime. And if you want to come to the show, man, let me know. Well, I'll get you some tickets. We'll get you out there if you want. You just let me know. But I appreciate you having me.
I'd have to talk to my wife because I got to see if she has to work Sunday, but if maybe not.
We know who wears the pants there. No.
Yeah, right.
I'm just kidding.
But when I saw Martial Combat League kind of popping up on Instagram, I didn't know you were behind it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like research. I'm like, Dylan Smith's doing this? I got to get this on here,
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's been a pleasure for sure. And like I said, just let me know on February 12th if you want to come out. I'll get you some tickets, man, for sure.
All right, I appreciate it, and maybe after we could do something again if you got time.
No doubt, man. Anytime I have a show, I'd love to come on, promote it, and talk about things, catch up, all that good stuff.
All right, I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thank you.
Yeah, good luck with the show.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Take care.
So, yeah.